Hey everyone, welcome to Empty Nest Creations. My name is Wendy. Thank you so much for joining me for this video today. Today we are opening Sonnet's Maker's Box for November, and I'm going to show you what's in it this time. So each month you get 2 fusion paints. This month we have fusion paint in Parchment and Ash. And these little jars of paint go a really long way. So I'm excited to use these colors. I've used Parchment before, but I've never used Ash, so I'm excited to see what that looks like. You also get 2 DIY paints, and these are the color White Swan and Fancy Farmgirl. That looks like a really pretty green. Again, I've never used these colors before, so I'm excited to see what they look like. And then in each box you get a Sweet Pickins milk paint, and this time we have the color Basil. This is one of my favorite greens for Christmas, so I'm excited to use this one again. In each box you also get 2 of the Painted Photographer's rice papers. And this month we have Winter Birch, which is just a nice winter scene. I'm excited to use this one. I love Connie's paintings. And then we have Mary Saint Nick. And this one is what they call a 3-up, I think. So you get 2 of this smaller size and then 1 of the larger size. And these are always fun to work with. I really like the background on this one. Very nice. In each box we get 2 of Roycycled's decoupage papers, and this time we have North Pole plaids. So half the page is in this plaid here, which is predominantly red, and the other half of the page is in this plaid, which is predominantly green. These are going to be fun to work with. And the second paper is called Santa's Greetings. Let me see if I can get the whole thing in the picture. So this is full of beautiful Christmas images. And these papers are exclusive to Sonnet's Maker's Box. This will be a lot of fun to work with as well. In each box, Sonnet always includes a napkin to use for projects, and this one is a really beautiful Santa Claus with some beautiful holiday greens and berries. So again, this one will be really fun to work with. So I'm excited to jump in and start creating with these products. In each box, when you get the box, Sonnet also includes a Maker's digital press, and this time it's the Kris Kringle collection, and I'll have to get those printed off, but I will show you those later on in the video, and we'll use some of those as well this time. So let's jump into project number 1. Before we jump into our first project, I wanted to announce the winner from the contest for my 1,000 subscribers. Pamela Horn is the winner. Thank you all so much for supporting my channel. I've already sent her a message, but I really want to thank you all for subscribing and for supporting my channel. I really, really appreciate it. So in this first project, we're going to be upcycling one of the mini rolling pins that I have in my stash. And for this one, I'm going to be using this plaid paper from Roycycled. And I just measured it out to make sure I had enough to go around with just a tiny bit of overlap. And I'm going to use DIY's liquid patina to adhere this down. So I missed my paper a little at a time, and just work my way around the rolling pin a little piece at a time. This helps to avoid the wrinkles, and it also helps me to avoid tearing the paper while I'm working with it. Once I have that down, I'm going to use the Santa's Greetings recycled paper, and I'm going to use this deer. I'm just using the wet tear method to tear this deer that's in the wreath out, and we're going to paint the back of this using one coat of white Swan, because we're going to decoupage this on top of that plaid. And I just want to make sure that the design on here stands out. So once I have that painted and it's dry, we're just going to center this on the rolling pin and use liquid patina to decoupage this down. Now let that dry completely, and now I'm coming in with some sandpaper, and I'm just going to sand that excess paper off. And then we're going to paint the handles with the Fusion paint in the color Ash. This is a beautiful black, and this paint has a primer and a top coat built in. And so I'm just working my way around, making sure that I get everything painted. And it only took one coat of paint for these handles. And then once that was dry, I just roughed them up with some sandpaper just to give them a little bit of age. And then I'm going to come in with some dark wax, and I'm going to wax the entire piece. The handles, the ends of the rolling pin, and the entire body of the rolling pin, just to give it a little age. And with that, this project is complete. Super simple project, easy upcycle. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this one. And if you enjoy upcycles and thrift flips, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for all of you who have subscribed and support my channel. I really appreciate it. And with that, we're going to move on to project number 2. Now, I found this wooden sign at the thrift store. I paid $1.88 for it. It has nothing on it. So I don't know if someone had already sanded the sign part off. But we're going to use this as a shadow box. So I'm going to give the entire frame and the back a coat of Fusion paint in the color Ash. And this only took one coat of paint, and it covered really nicely. Just freshened it up some. And so now we're going to use Connie's, the Painted Photographer rice paper in the design Winter Birch. And I'm just using the wet tear method here to tear off those white edges. And then I'm going to size it to my frame. And I want those trees at the top to show, so I'm just going to tear off this bottom piece. And then we're going to paint the inside. I wanted the inside to be white so that picture will stand out, and that black will not show through. So I'm giving this a coat of white Swan. And then we're going to decoupage this paper in. Now, it's not quite wide enough to cover the entire inside of the box. So I just went outside and grabbed some sticks out of the yard. And we're going to use those to kind of hide that this paper doesn't cover the entire inside of the box. And right now, they don't match. So we're going to make those sticks match the birch trees in our picture. And I'm just painting these with a coat of white Swan to get started. And then once that's dry, we're going to use some of that fusion paint in the color Ash and a little bit of the DIY White Swan to make these branches look like birch. So I just go in with my paintbrush. I put a little bit of black and a little bit of the white on some wax paper, and I'm going to mix those together and just work on these little branches to make them look like birch trees. So this took a lot of trial and error. I didn't exactly like the way it was looking right there, so I just come back in with some more of that white, and cover it up, and start over. This is the fun of crafting for me. It's just playing around and getting the look that you want. And this is just paint. So if you don't like it, you can paint over it. You can start over. I'm using my heat tool in between to just dry that paint. So I don't want it to, become just a big gray blob. So I dry it in between and then add some more paint. Go back over parts that I don't like and just keep playing at it until I get it to look like I want it. And so the whole time I'm looking at the picture to see, to kind of make it look like Connie's trees. And I'm working with the way that these sticks are naturally laying because that's how they're going to lay in the box. And so I'm not painting the underside because you won't see that. I'm just painting the top side, the part that you will see. And I did kind of hold these up to the box and realize that they're a little more white than what's in the painting. So I'm going to come in and make just a really light gray wash. I'm adding some water to that paint. And then I'm just going to go back in and anywhere where you see the white swan, I'm going to go in and just wash this light gray over the top to help these to kind of blend in and match the trees on our print better. So once that's done, I'm going to dry these and then I come back in with just a little bit of sandpaper and I'm roughing them up. If you look at the picture that Connie painted, the black on the trees, you can see a little bit of white in there, and so I'm just trying to match that as best as possible. Now, I wanted to paint those sides just so if you see any of it, once we put these sticks in, it'll kind of blend in. So I added a little bit of that gray color to the bottom to look like the snow continues on, and then I'm just painting some of this green to look like those trees that are in the middle. And so if you see this through our sticks, it'll look just like that picture just continued going. So now I'm just going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick. And I'm just using that to glue these sticks in. They fit pretty tightly, so I don't think they're going to go anywhere. But that glue will just help to hold them in place. And that just kind of makes that picture more 3D. So now I'm going to go in with some snow text. And I'm just going to cover this bottom to look like that snow is just spilling over onto the bottom of our frame here. And then I went to my stash and I found a little figurine of a boy and a snowman. And again, I'm just going to use some of this Titebond Quick and Thick. I'm going to add a little bit to the bottom of our little figurine. And then attach it to the base of this shadow box. So that Snow Tex, when it dries pretty solid and hard. So that's going to help to hold them on, as well as that glue. And this project is complete. We have a cute little shadow box scene. I love the way this turned out. I love that winter picture. And this is something that you could put out now for Christmas and just leave it up all winter. So now we're going to move on to project number 3. And in this project, I'm going to be using that napkin that came in the box. Napkins are a little more delicate than the rice paper or the decoupage paper. So you have to be a little more gentle with these. But I'm going to put these on some candles. So I picked up these candles a while back during the summer. And they're not the kind that have the wax on them. They're kind of plasticky. But they're battery operated and they'd be good for the holidays. So I'm just kind of measuring out. I know that one square is not going to be big enough to go all the way around our candle. So I just cut that top edge off, and I'm going to cut a little bit off of these others as well. And I'm going to piece these pieces onto the back so that we get full coverage. I'm just using a little bit of DIY liquid patina on my fingers there to make them sticky, to help me remove those plies. And then I'm just going to start laying these pieces down. I'm starting with the back. And this pattern is so busy that you can't really tell where I piece this together once it's finished. So again, you want to work in little pieces. Now, napkins, you don't wet them before you decoupage them on, because once they're wet, they're very easy to tear. So you have to be really careful. So you see I'm kind of holding that wick as I go, and just adding a little bit of liquid patina and then laying those pieces down. And you'll see in a minute that I do tear this one. Those little strips that I added on, they're really long. And one of them stuck to my finger and it ripped a little bit, but it was super easy to fix it. I just put a little more liquid patina down and lay it back down and let it dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to use that sandpaper again to just get off the excess paper. This candle had a little bit of a curvy top, so it was a little more challenging to get around all those curves, but wasn't too difficult. So I'm just sanding off the top and the bottom. And if any of your napkin did not stick down, just go back with some liquid patina and add a little more to make sure that it's all adhered really well to your candle. Now, once that's completely dry, I'm going to come in with this antiquing wax and give it a good coat and buff that off. Napkins are going to wrinkle when you decoupage with them, so I'm just embracing those wrinkles, and this wax kind of bring out all those beautiful details. And these are done. Look how beautiful they are lit up. Makes Santa's face just glow. I love it. I love the way these turned out. You can elevate these with really pretty candle holders, or you can put them in an arrangement. Whatever you want to do with them, I think they'll be a beautiful addition to your Christmas decor. Love these. So let me know what you think about these in the comments below. And let's move on to project number 4. Now for this project, I have a wall hanging that I picked up at the thrift store. It's got a little inset image in the middle, and the paper was already kind of peeling off of it. It had this beautiful crystal knob on the bottom, so I'm going to remove that for the paint. And we're going to come in with the DIY paint in Fancy Farmgirl. And we're going to give this piece 2 coats. DIY paint is a clay-based paint, and it does need to be sealed. Until you seal it, it can be reactivated with water. So I give this 2 good coats, being careful going around that little inset piece. And then once that's dry, I'm going to come in and just use some painter's tape here to mask off our little square in the middle, just so I don't get any of this paint on that Fancy Farmgirl paint. And I'm going to be using the Fusion paint in Parchment, and I'm just coming in and giving this 2 messy coats. And then once that's dry, we're going to use Connie's paper, Mary St. Nick, and I'm using the larger one here. And again, I'm going to use that wet tear method to get rid of all those white edges. I do this on the back because the ink kind of acts as a barrier and keeps the water from getting into those paper fibers. So I always use the back. So here I'm just going to cut this down to fit into our square. Now it's not quite wide enough. So that piece that I took off the top, I'm going to tear it into small strips. And we're going to use that to make our image go all the way to the edge of our little square. And we're going to cover up this entire thing. And now this pattern that Connie used on the back is very random. So these pieces blend right in. And you can't even tell that this was pieced together. So again, I'm just using liquid patina. I do miss the back of my St. Nick here to help it lay down and not have any wrinkles. And then I just go in with more liquid patina, a little bit at a time, laying this down and smoothing it out with my brush. And once I have that completely down, I'm going to seal it over the top with some more liquid patina. And then I'm going to seal in the entire piece with liquid patina, sealing in all that DIY paint. And once this is dry, I add that knob back on there and it's ready to go. I thought this would be a beautiful piece of art to hang on your wall, and you could use that knob to hang your Santa's magic key on it, so that if you don't have a chimney, Santa can get into your house to leave all the beautiful presents for Christmas Day. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments below. And we're going to move on to our final project today, project number 5. Now for this project, I'm using an inexpensive metal tray. I picked a bunch of these up at a yard sale for just a couple of dollars. And so I pulled this oval one out of my stash because it's going to be great for using the Maker's Digital Press, one of the Kris Kringle collections today. So I'm giving that center a coat of white Swan and the outside frame a coat of Fancy Farmgirl. Now the digital press, Sonnet gives us 5 different images. And this time they were all beautiful vintage Santas, but this one was my favorite. I just love that little wreath of holly and berries that are around him. And so I'm just going to use the wet tear method here again to tear off the edges. And then we're going to use liquid patina to decoupage this down to the center of our tray. I did miss the back of my paper, And I just lay a little bit of liquid patina down and work from the center out, smoothing it down. And then I'll lift that bottom piece up and do the same thing. Now, somehow I missed getting the blending on camera, but I did take some fusion paints and just go around the Santa, blending in with the over that white so that it didn't stand out so stark. And I'm sorry about the focus on my camera. I don't know what was going on here. But once I had finished painting, I just go back in and touch up anywhere on that frame, just making sure that we have a nice straight edge to frame out our Kris Kringle here. And then once that's done, I give the entire piece a coat of liquid patina to seal in the paint and seal in our decoupage paper. And this project is complete. This will be a beautiful piece to display on a shelf. Just add a little bit of Saint Nick to your holiday decor. And look how good it looks with that candle we made earlier. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects and that they give you some inspiration to make some beautiful items for your home. Again, I appreciate you sharing some of your time with me, and I will see you in the next video.